Cool. That was my Jake Peralta impersonation. I feel like my volume is a little low. Hi, Andy. Can you guys let me know how the volume is? It's sound a little weird for me, but also I use this mic when I play games with Rob, and so I'm constantly adjusting my volume. I'm adjusting it for this, I'm adjusting it for games, so let me know if it sounds good. Hi Karen, hi Alyssa. I want to give a shout out to Karen. It is 11 o'clock where she is right now, and she managed to stay awake. So thanks, Karen, for staying awake for me. Hi, Fun Disney fan. Gonna wait for a few more people to come in. But today we're gonna talk about Realityland and see how far you guys are in the book, which I actually had an epiphany today when I was reading it that I actually think I started this book a long time ago and then never finished it, because I remembered reading the first chapter and I was like, this all sounds very familiar. And for some reason, I guess I just never kept going with it. And then I like how Andy's telling me to yell, please. I could do that. I don't know if Peter would like that, but anyway, I just want to see how you guys are doing first before we get into anything, because that's important. Crazy world we live in. But I just want to check in and see if you guys are doing okay. I'm doing okay. I'm believe it or not, I'm actually an introvert. So staying at home and being here isn't so bad, but I think after not seeing people for a while, it's been kind of getting me. Andy is asking me to turn up my mic gain. I will a little bit. This thing is so finicky. It's one of those Yeti mics. There we go. Tell me if that's a little bit better. These things are so sensitive. If you put it up even the slightest bit too much, it gets crazy. Hi, Susan. I'm also in New Jersey. I don't know if you know that, but I'm in New Jersey now. I used to be in New York, but not anymore. It is beautiful out today. It's so sunny and nice. Fun Disney fan, doing good. I know there's a great, big, beautiful tomorrow. No, it's not too cheesy. I like that. I think it's an important thing to keep in mind. Just take everything one day at a time. All right, so we'll start talking about Realityland. For those of you who are doing the book club, I always like to open my live streams where we talk a little bit about where we are. I am honestly a little shy of the halfway point. I was trying to catch up this morning. I was actually lifting weights downstairs, and in between sets was reading, which was actually a lot better than just checking my phone. But Realityland is the book that we're currently reading, and it is nonfiction. It's about the building of Disney World, and from that point on, through opening, through various struggles that they went through. I know it is actually one of Rob's favorite books, though he told me he likes 85% of the book, but not the last 15%. So it'll be interesting when we get there to see what he means by that. But Karen said she bought it and forgot to read it. I mean, you still have time to catch up. Honestly, it's not... The one thing about nonfiction that's nice is there's really no spoilers, right? We kind of all know what happens. Disney World becomes successful and lives happily ever after. But there's that. And I don't really adhere to any crazy schedule. So catch up when you can catch up. So what I've basically gotten through is through the opening, actually a couple chapters after that point. But there was a couple of things that I felt were really interesting. I mean, what I really liked about this book is that it goes so in depth about the construction of Disney World. So it really talks about the different companies that they worked with, the issues that they've had, There's some things that are obvious that I feel like we all know the story of how they bought land in Florida and they did it under different names so that they wouldn't know it was Walt. And like, there's things like that where I feel like if you're a really big fan, you just know that, right? But there's so many other details that are so interesting. Like the rocks in Liberty Square are like from, what was it, like the border between DC and Delaware. And that cost them a lot of money. They could have just done any rocks, but they wanted like legit rocks from like, certain sites. And they had plaques that were actually made in Philadelphia that were put into Liberty Square. So I feel like there's a lot of like crazy small details that like you wouldn't, any other company would say, we're just going to bring rocks from wherever, who cares? And Disney, of course, has to spend the extra money to do the accurate thing. But I mean, that's why we love them, right? I also find the building of the Contemporary fascinating. Weren't they going to call it, was it like Tempo Bay or something? Was like the original like name. Was it Tempo Bay? Am I right? Or Tempo? Is that right? I think that's right. It was a terrible name. So they kept calling it the Contemporary as like it was their nickname when they were building the resort. And then they were going to switch to that other name. And then they were like, no, you know what? The Contemporary is simple and easy. It is what it is. Don't try to like give it this fancy name. And then it became the Contemporary, which I thought was really interesting. I also thought it was interesting how they built the Contemporary. So they had the frame first, and then they had pre-made hotel rooms, and to not tip the frame, they had to put them in on either side, like one at a time. So, they put rooms on one side, and then they put rooms on the other side and go back and forth so it wasn't shifting the weight of the frame, which was like fascinating. Alyssa says, I want to read it, but online classes are taking up my time at the moment. I'm just here to learn about it. It's really fascinating, and it's definitely one that you can read like in chapters, like short chapters. You don't have to rush through it. Karen says, I'm a law geek, so I think the way they set up Reedy Creek is fascinating. Super fascinating. Yeah, they talk about that, and they talk about how just how they set up a lot of their systems and everything. What was the other thing that was like super fascinating? I think what was just interesting to hear was, when Disneyland opens, and they bring this up, Walt opened it on like a day that he knew was going to be really busy. It was a weekend day. They had the advertising everywhere, and they ended up calling it like Black Sunday. It was a Sunday, I think, right? Because everything broke down. There was too many people. People were angry. It was like super crowded. The rides couldn't handle the crowds. And then Disney World's opening was the exact opposite. It was super quiet. And they kept calling it Gray Friday because they opened it on a Friday. They figured, let's not open it on a weekend. Let's open it on a school day, right? Because they thought, okay, well, we can, temper the crowds a little bit that way. But they still were ready and waiting for it to be crowded, and it wasn't. But they also said that was partly a good thing because there was so much stuff that wasn't done. Like they were rushing to do things right before opening day, which is such a crazy thing to think about now when we think about Disney World as we know it today. But reading about how, they were getting everyone they could to put down sod outside of the Contemporary to make it look nicer, like literally the night before, so that when everything opened the next day, it would actually look nice. And about all the things that they were doing in Magic Kingdom to just rush and make things look decent before opening. And then they open, and it's fairly quiet. After the initial crowds and press and whatever, it actually ended up being, like, there was headlines that were, like, saying, oh, Disney World open to like low crowds. So that was really interesting. And then they also, it's interesting to see where the start of picking out a family as like the family of the day came from, because they said technically the first guests that ever entered the park were college kids, and they wanted to celebrate the first people through the turnstile, but they were like, well, we don't want it to be college kids. That's not like, we want like the PR of a family. So they cherry picked a family to go down Main Street and be greeted by all the characters and all of that. And it kind of, to me, is like the start of picking the family that's like in the parade, right? And that's like the family of the day. But it's interesting that it's like even then they're thinking about what does PR look like? Like we could go with the real college kids that came here first, or we can pick a really nice looking full family and have that be, you know, the photo on the front pages. So it's just like a lot of little interesting things like that I find really fascinating, because you're really starting to see like some of the decisions being made behind the scenes, that I just thought was super interesting. And just an honest view of like some things were a mess, some things weren't ready, some things broke down, some things had to be redone. Like I appreciate that, because I think we just see it as it is today, and it's nice to see the struggles that they had. Okay, catching up on some comments. Mufasa says, I think that is most falsely communicated statement that Disney World was so busy when it opened. Yeah, it really wasn't. They were kind of worried about it. Obviously, Thanksgiving came around, and that was a difference for them, and that was very important for them that they had to do well on Thanksgiving to prove that it was going to be a success. And remember, it opened in October, so that wasn't too much later. But yeah, I mean, it people seem to forget that it did not attract the same crowds. Same happened for all non-Disneyland California parks. None of them had the expected crowds. Yeah, I mean, I think now we forget that, right? Because we just see the crowded parks that we see today, and that's it. So I think that was definitely really interesting. I was laughing at like they were talking about this like old construction company that they hired and they got rid of, but they were like doing really shady stuff. They were stealing trucks of materials. They were stealing the glass eyes out of the elephants in the Jungle Cruise. Like it was just insanity. There was this really funny part where they said like they put in fake TVs in the hotel rooms for the time being, like just as they were building, and they put signs literally that said these TVs do not work, to deter the construction workers from stealing them, because they really didn't work. They were just props. But the construction workers assumed that was just to, you know, to deter them, and so they were stealing them. They were saying there was TVs popping up in like pawn shops and people complaining that they didn't work. So it's really funny. Really shady stuff going on there. Karen says, I was at the opening weekend of Disneyland Paris. It was definitely quieter than a regular day in Disney World. Oh my God, that's amazing. Please tell me more. I had no idea that we had someone here who was at an opening day of a park. I think that's so fascinating. I'd love to, if you can tell us what you remember from that. That's awesome. I always think like there's one thing I wish I could do is like travel back in time to like the openings of these things. That would be so cool. Mufasa said, I like how Disney kept delaying Walt's version of Epcot. Yeah, and it as they were delaying it changed so much constantly. Like what they were gonna do changed until obviously we got the Epcot that we got today. But that was really, really interesting. It was interesting just to hear like, you know, they're talking about putting the monorails together when they first got to ride through, and this imagery of all these construction workers doing the construction and seeing sparks flying as they were going through the contemporary. But then the construction workers would stop and turn and like watch this monorail go through, because it was like something they'd never really seen before. Like that imagery in my mind was like so cool. Like, could you imagine being on those first test runs of the monorail while everything is still being built? That it's just something, again, you don't think about. You kind of take for granted that we ride this monorail when we go there all the time. But, like, thinking of something like that and then riding it and seeing it come to fruition has got to be amazing. Fun Disney fan says, I always found it funny that Tomorrowland only opened with just the Grand Prix Raceway and with no People Mover or Carousel progress. Yeah. Oh, and it was the Grand Prix. They were, like, telling cast members, like, the day before how to, like, you know, start up the cars. Like, they said they didn't even have time to train them, which is like so crazy. Queenie says, I wonder if someone in the back was like, this was a bad idea the whole time, and thus 1M delays. RCT3 is epic. Good to see you. With all the attractions at home videos, will you be doing any? No. Only because I feel like I don't have the means to do it. I mean, and also Peter would not get involved in that, and I can't do it by myself. Twixie Shore says, and then we got Celebration Ari Epcot. This is true, even though Celebration's obviously vastly different than what was planned. But it's something, I guess, for really rich people. Karen D says, it was so cool. Oh, we're talking about Disneyland Paris opening. It was so cool. My mom was amazed for making it happen. Amazing for making it happen. I think it opened on Friday, and we were there Saturday and Sunday. I mostly remember it being cold. Phantom Manor was my favorite ride. Monorails aren't that special if you live in Seattle. I mean, I live in New York. Like, the subway's pretty impressive. You know what I mean? Like, and we have monorails now that go to like our airports and stuff. But still, at the time, it was impressive. Queenie says, I think my favorite dead Disney ride is the Flying Saucers. Oh my god, those are so weird. Like, I've seen like those little like video snippets of it, and they're just so strange. Like, I can't even imagine that being a ride now. But again, man, 60s, 70s, weird time. Mufasa said all the accident stories didn't seem to fit. What didn't seem to fit, like, the narrative didn't seem to fit. I was just curious what you mean by that. I still have, I think, I've read a couple of things, but like I was trying to get to like page 150, which is about halfway point. I'm probably like 120 right now. So the narrative. Okay, that's what you mean. Yeah, I think what this book is trying to do, like, the whole point of it being called Realityland is like it's trying to show that reality of the parks being built. But I get what you're saying. I can understand why you feel that way. Queenie says, I think they could do the Flying Saucers if they use track lists somehow, but it would also bring up the question of why. Yeah, that's very true. Well, they remade the Flying Saucers in Cars Land when that opened, so I don't think it was just a product of the 60s. Well, kind of. I mean, the actual ride system's a bit different, but yes. I'm just thinking, like, now we have alien swirling saucers, so you can't really use the alien, facade. I still can't believe they didn't think about the acronym of that before they opened. Or they might have. Maybe they were just like, yep, everyone's just going to call it AST, and, like, that's great. I'm sure that's an ongoing Imagineering joke. But it flopped for the same reasons it did in the 60s. And Queenie says the fact that they keep trying it was amazing. There's got to be someone on the team who's just like, I love this idea. I'm not going to let it die. But yeah, I mean, so far I find the book really fascinating. I think it's probably right now my favorite of the nonfiction books that we've read. I think that it flows a lot better than that last Imagineering autobiography that we read, because that was like all kinds of tangents. This is, obviously not written from an autobiographical point of view, so it's a little more focused. Though I did hear that there was like one or two things in here that I think some people have contention with about how true some of it is, but I don't know if we've gotten up to that yet. Twixie Shore says, hey, they've remade Dumbo like 5 times now. Why not remake other rides? Karen D says, I like hearing about accidents, construction workers stealing stuff, etc. There's so much magic out there. I like hearing the nitty-gritty stories. I agree. Yeah, I agree. I think that that's really interesting, and real for the time and something that they had to deal with. I like hearing that as well. Some jerk with a camera has a great joke about summoning the flying saucers like a demonic spirit. Oh, that's good. Yeah, so I'm excited to get further into it. Like now I'm just like a little bit further from the opening. I'm in like the Epcot part of it, but I am curious. I know that this was written several years ago, so I'm curious like where it goes, where it ends. I'm also curious about what Rob said about like he feels like the last part of it's not that great, and I wonder why. Like I wonder how it like takes a direction. I guess we'll see. But for all you guys who are like, oh, I got it, I haven't started reading it yet. Like I said, I don't, this is a very lax book club. I'm not grading you on how fast you read the book. And I also think it's very easy to just read a chapter, or even just read a few pages, take in some of the stuff that you learn, It's not something that you need to rush through at all. And he says, I like that Disney has just been winging it for 65 years and their plans have never gone the way they think. Never? You think never. You think there's absolutely nothing that Disney has put out there that they were like, yep, exactly how we planned. Not a single thing. I feel like there's got to be something. I don't know. I'm thinking. But I feel like there's got to be an attraction or something that's just like, yeah, that's no problems there. And he says like once. Maybe like animal trails in Animal Kingdom, right? Like, did those go wrong in any way? I feel like they were just like, there you go. We gave you tigers. That's what we meant to give you. Small World, that's a good point. Actually, no, but didn't they change the song on Small World? Didn't they originally have a different song and then they had to change it because it was terrible? So there were some changes there. Tron Light Cycles. Okay, maybe. I can't say I've heard any like issues with them creating that. I'm pretty sure they said the pavement in Shanghai was sinking on opening day, just like Black Sunday. Oh, man. Yeah, I mean, and that's... No, I think the song was what the ride was built on. Queen said, I could have sworn in the Imagineering story they were saying that it was something different, and then they came up with the idea of them all singing the same song with different languages. But maybe I'm wrong. I mean, I'm just partial to Small World because it was in the World's Fair here in Queens. So, partial to all of that, really. But okay, want to open it up. We don't have to talk about Realityland. We can keep talking about Realityland. We can talk about the parks, movies, whatever you guys want to talk about. It was originally supposed to be each country's national anthem. Rob even made a video on it. Yeah. I was like, okay, I knew that it was supposed to be something different. They said it sounded horrible. It was like all a mix of like a cacophony as you were going from room to room. And so it made more sense to write the one song and have them all sing it in different languages. So there you go. Another one that didn't go exactly as planned, but then ended up being probably better than what it would have originally been. So, yeah, I mean, I haven't been watching enough Disney Plus, I feel like, in my quarantine life. I really need to do a Star Wars marathon. That is my plan. Like, I need a weekend where I need 2 days. Like, I'm not going to stay up all night and watch all the Star Wars movies. But I need to give myself a weekend where I'm just like, this is what I'm doing. Because I haven't watched... If you guys listened to the last TTA, I haven't even watched the original trilogy in like 3-ish years, which is like too long if you ask me. And, oh my god, the prequel's even longer. So I feel like I need to do a full-on rewatch. But I just haven't watched anything really this quarantine. I've been playing a lot of video games. And I've been doing a lot of work and doing channel stuff and doing stuff around the house. And then I feel like that's all I have time for. Karen says, I'm rewatching Boy Meets World, and today I watched the Disney World episode. The thing that struck me was how nice Epcot looked before the gravestones. I need to rewatch Boy Meets World. Oh my god, that was like that was the first TV show I ever watched every episode of. Like on air. So I definitely need to rewatch it. Mufasa said, just saw Waking Sleeping Beauty, pretty good. Queenie said, I'm just watching a lot of anime, fair. Twixie Shore says, I just got a Disney Plus sub yesterday and decided to binge The World According to Jeff Goldblum. It is a great show. I can't believe that man is as quirky in real life as he just See, like it's not, it seems so genuine. It doesn't even seem like a facade. He just is a whimsical person. Maybe Jeff Goldblum's like an alien. Like I feel like if the truth is out there that aliens are already here on Earth, Jeff Goldblum's one of them for sure. In the best way. I mean that in the best way. Karen says, I also watched Rise of Skywalker today. It's been a productive day. I haven't watched it since I saw it in theaters, so I need to rewatch it. Andy says, I've been binging the Nat Geo section so much there that I ignored since November. God, I can't read today. I'm sorry. Nat Geo is gold. Yeah, I haven't watched any of that yet either. I was just watching Saving Mr. Banks on Disney Plus, and it was amazing. I love Saving Mr. Banks. I saw it in theaters, and then I rewatched it like pre-Disney Plus, actually. I think it was like when it was on Netflix. I know, and like we were talking about this too. Like I know it's not an absolute accurate depiction of what happens, but it is a great fun movie, and it makes me cry, and I love it. I watched the new Simpsons short, Maggie's Playdate. Man, I haven't watched anything Simpsons in a long time. Not even gonna lie. Thank you, the Traveling Soldier, for the super chat. That is really, really kind of you. Hero75 says, I have been watching a strange mix of Drain the Oceans on Disney Plus and some anime on Hulu. Susan says, I tried to watch Tiger King but couldn't get into it. So we haven't watched it yet. I 100% think it's down Peter and I's alley. Like, we like all those weird Netflix, like the Netflix documentaries where you start at one point and then several episodes later you're just like, what rabbit hole have I gone down? How is this real life? Like, I know that we'll enjoy it. We just have not had time to sit down and watch it. Karen says, we've only had Disney Plus a few weeks in the UK and there's so much to watch, it's hard to choose. Yeah, I think I kind of took a little bit of a break from it due to overwhelm. I think sometimes you go to it and you're just like, oh my God, there's all these new things I want to watch, but also old things I want to revisit. And that's how I get even with Netflix. Like, I get overwhelmed and then I just don't watch anything because I'm like, I'm just going to scroll through everything for 20 minutes and then be like, nope, can't pick something too much. And then I walk away and I just do something else. Every Thursday, Jerk with a Camera, aka Tony Goldmark, Escape from Walt Disney, does a live tweet of a Disney Plus movies. That sounds fun. I've been thinking about, again, I'm still thinking of like, how do we watch Hunchback together? I'm gonna figure that one out, where I want to do that, because I think we all need to do it, especially some of you who have never seen it. Just saying. So far, we've done Lilo and Stitch and the original Tron. Original Tron's great. I love Tron Legacy. That's not even an ironic statement. I love that movie. But the original Tron's good too. It does feel very dated. And if you've never seen the original Tron and you only watch it now, it feels even more dated. Like, I feel like that movie is great for nostalgia, but if you didn't have like a experience with it in the past, I don't know if it holds up well. I've also been binge watching Lego Masters. I hear that's like Disney Plus is fun, but you can get lost in the index of movies for an hour, sort of like measuring the years you grew up by the movies that are listed. Seriously, it's too much, man. Karen says, I would love a group watch of Hunchback. We'll figure it out. Queenie says, this is a strange question, but I know you take a lot of video in Disney, but do you take any photos? I'd love to see like your top 10 photos or something. So I do, and they like only go up on Instagram. Like, literally, when I'm there, I vlog and then I go, oh, gotta get something for the gram. But sure, I could go through and like pick out some of my favorite ones. I think that would be pretty fun to go through. I'm less of a photo taker with me in it. I like taking photos of things at Disney. I think it's so beautiful there are times where I capture, what one park, and you guys are not going to be surprised when I say this, but the one park that I take photos in that I'm like, this doesn't even look like it's at Disney, is Animal Kingdom. There are certain areas and shots that you can get where it looks like you're in a different country. And I guarantee you somebody who's like not familiar with Disney or Animal Kingdom would not know the difference. It's so crazy. We were posting photos in the chat yesterday, and now thinking on it, I'm curious. Okay, I can make that video. That video can be made. Especially after seeing the really old photo album photos. Yeah, those are, they're sitting back there in my bookshelf. They were fun to go through. Fun Disney fan says, you can do watch-along parties with Disney Plus by live streaming and have a stopwatch running on the screen so everyone stays in the same place, and you can give your commentary. Okay. I also like taking photos of things without me, so I'm glad I'm not the only one. I mean, and it's funny because, like, Instagram's such an interesting platform that it used to be about taking photos of just whatever was out there. Then it turned into these beautiful curated photos. Then people got uninterested in that, and now they want photos of you again. It's so weird. So, like, the stuff that does the best on Instagram for me is, like, with me in it. But I don't like posting those photos. I don't like taking those photos. Go figure. Fun Disney fan says, also, is it bad that I haven't seen some parts of Hunchback? Because every time I see a gargoyle, I fast forward until the gargoyles disappear. Yes, it is bad. Because the gargoyles themselves are not bad characters. Do they have a not so great song in a movie full of great songs? Yes. But they serve a purpose in the movie. And a purpose that makes Quasimodo seem a little less crazy than in the book. So, or maybe more crazy? I don't know. Andy says, post Shmi. I do post some Shmi photos. She does all right. She, you think for a cat she would get more likes, but not necessarily. Oh my god, I love how everyone's like, why don't you like the gargoyles? What do you have against gargoyles? Oh my god. You started it, Fun Disney fan. You started it. I'm just watching this all go down. I agree with you on taking photos in Animal Kingdom, especially by the bridge looking across towards Expedition Everest. Yeah, or like even the water, if you like take photos of the water down through Asia, with all the boats and everything, it looks like you're in Asia. Like it looks like I've been to Southeast Asia. I've been to Thailand. I've been to Cambodia. It looks like that photo was taken out of that vacation. Like it's crazy how much it actually looks like you're somewhere else. If the gargoyles were not in the film, it would actually be kind of even more depressing. I just wish they had done better and right. The song, it's terrible. It is terrible. It's so weird because it feels like Alan Menken wrote all the other music and then somebody else wrote that song. And I don't think that's true, but that's how it feels. They do have some great lines though. Like, oh my gosh. I love when they throw when they're up at the thing and they throw the catapult and he's like, are you sure this is how it works? And they throw the catapult and then it like springs the other way and hits a bunch of dudes and he's like, works for me. Like, I don't know. They're great. They're the great comic relief that you need. Though Phoebus is also comic relief. He's like very sarcastic and I love him. Actually, him and Esmeralda are great. They're so sassy. They ruin a great gothic movie and give Quasimodo false hopes he should have gotten from Esmeralda and other characters. But I think that they add that kids movie element to it, right? Like, this is still a Disney film, even though it's a dark Disney film. And so I think that that's part of the reason why they're there. With fingers crossed, when is everyone scheduled to go to Disney World again? I'm scheduled Pop Century the first week in June and the last in August. I have nothing scheduled right now. Honestly, I don't know what I'm going to do. We have September cruise scheduled. I think that's not going to happen realistically. Not even because of shutdowns. I think that there's just some hesitancy about going on a cruise right now with everything going on, and considering how hard they've been hit. So I think that might get moved to 2021. So maybe September will just be a Disney World trip, but I don't know. And I think things are going to change a lot in terms of like just how things are done. And I feel like there's still going to be some limits to people flying out of here in New York, New Jersey area because we've been hit so hard. So we got to see how like travel restrictions are from around here. So I don't have anything planned yet. Let's see. Karen says, I'm going in September and October maybe. RCT3 is epic, says, I'm planning a trip for March of 2022, a clean decade after I last went. Hey, sooner than never, right? Fun Disney fan says, we're talking about Hunchback. I've seen a video essay where she constantly repeats the I'm losing to a bird moment every time she makes a negative point against the movie. That's hilarious. Queenie says, I'm not scheduled yet, but I'm hoping to go back in May. Bye, Fun Disney fan. Thank you for joining. Enjoy your dinner. Hats off for anyone going in June. I need people to be the guinea pigs. Yeah, I'm going to be realistic with you guys. I don't know if they're going to be open in June. Just the more I start reading about things and how we have to slowly open things up, and if we do have to open things in phases, theme parks are going to be the last thing opened. It's just not an essential thing. It is another area where groups gather. I don't think they're going to be in a rush to open theme parks or concert venues or, anything where there's large groups. So fingers crossed that they open in June. I'm thinking maybe even mid-June. But I don't think they're opening June 1st. Don't quote me on that. That's just my gut feeling, and I really hope I'm wrong. I hope you guys could be like, haha, I told you, Christine. But that's just how I feel. Hero says, I have a theory that Epcot will be the last park to open, and while the other parks reopen, Disney will focus on construction and empty park. The problem is they're losing money. They're bleeding money right now. So what they can fund in terms of their construction is going to be interesting, because they're definitely going to put a halt on some things that they were planning to do. There are probably going to be some things that just don't get done, and there's going to be other things that are going to be pushed back. So we'll definitely see. I know everyone's just like, oh, Disney has like billions of dollars, and yeah, that's true, but like they're in a situation right now where they are losing a lot of money. So we'll see. My plan is still May 2021, maybe October 2020 if everything is good. Yeah, I think fall is like my earliest, which is such a bummer. But I think realistically, I'm really thinking about flying down on my birthday. My wedding anniversary is the day before, so for Peter's sake, I feel like I have to be here for that. But then my birthday's on a Thursday in November, and I'm like, what if I just flew down that morning and then came back on Sunday? We'll see. Damien Does Disney says, yeah, I think Disneyland might not open till August or September. Well, looking at what the governor over there is planning on, it sounds like probably at least August, right? Like, I think it's, and that's the other thing, it's just all going to depend on what the rules are set in those places. Karen says, that's what the cast member who leaked the plan said. I would be very sad if Epcot is closed. Yeah, that would be weird, wouldn't it? It would be really weird to go to Disney World and have certain parks closed. I guess I never really thought about that as an option. Could be an option. I think, I don't know, did you guys hear about that Universal survey that went out? They sent out a survey to annual pass holders, and they were like, if we did these certain things, would you come? Would you be okay with that? And it was like cutting their capacity by 50%, mandatory coronavirus tests, which I think is just like a lot. I get it, but it's a lot, and I don't think a lot of people would be okay with that. Temperature tests when you come in, to me that's like whatever. They can do that very quickly, and I wouldn't care so much. Closing indoor rides and attractions, which to me is like, that's a big part of Universal and Disney, so that would be huge. So what do? You're just like on roller coasters, I guess. And yeah, so I think they're just trying to figure it out. I don't think that anything that they've listed there is definite. I think they're really trying to gauge how people feel about certain ideas. So we'll definitely see. I agree, but I think that is the difference between the state governments in California and Florida. Yeah, unfortunately, I will not get into politics, but I do not love what the Florida governor is doing. And I think that let me just say, firsthand experience up here in the Northeast, if this is any indication of what other states might eventually have happen to them, got to be a little bit more, cracking down a little bit more with stuff. Karen says, Christine, did you see the thing posted the other day on one of the forums that seemed to have been a cast member leaking Disney's current plan for how to reopen? I have not, but if you can point me to that, if you guys can link me as in Reddit, or just if you point me to it, I'll take a look at it now, because I haven't seen this yet. Susan says we're supposed to go on September 13th. I'm not sure if Disney will open by then from what I've read. Yeah, our cruise is supposed to be September 10th to 14th. I have a feeling, like, we paid in full already, and we're happy to reschedule, so we're happy to take like a full credit and reschedule for 2021. I talked to Rob and Kat about it, and they'd probably be okay with doing that too. So it's killing me, man. Like, all of my big trips is it's killing me. And then I feel selfish saying that, right? Like, oh, my trips, you know, and obviously there's like important things happening in the world, but it's still a bummer. Let's see. That's what I'm catching up on your messages here. No indoor rides, so basically nothing would be open. I know. Like, could you imagine Magic Kingdom? Like, I wonder if they're going to do low caps on park occupancy at Disney. I think that's one of the easiest ways to solve the problem at first. And they could do that by limiting how many even hotel rooms they're allowed to book. You know, like, they're not going to fill up their resorts or whatever. And then obviously you have to account for locals. Let's see. Lily Mack says, hi, Christine. Love you and your channel. My sister is 25. Was recently diagnosed with a rare form of leukemia. The way my family has been getting through is thinking of Disney. First of all, I'm sorry to hear that. I wish her the best. I hope she can fight it and kick its butt. But yeah, I mean, Disney is definitely, I think, has been just some hope for a lot of people and everything that's going on. But good luck to your sister. Tell her that I said she's going to kick its butt and she's going to be just fine. Karen D said, not just out of state, but all over the world. Lily Max says, does Disney do anything special for people with cancer who can't stand on lines? Yes, you should. I did a video about the disability card. It's like the disability access card. So this is for, it doesn't matter if it's a physical, visible disability or not. Anyone can sign up for this, and the group can sign up for this. It lets people who cannot stand in line for long periods of time have that wait elsewhere, and then return when it is time for them to ride the ride. They give you like a return time. So yes, you can definitely take advantage of that. It's incredibly helpful. I have friends who have used it. And definitely takes like the stress off of not having to wait in queues. So yeah, absolutely can do that. And like I said, it doesn't have to be, you don't have to look physically disabled or ill or anything to be able to use this card. So, Damien does. Disney says, especially at Universal Studios Hollywood, if you close all indoor attractions, you might as well close the park, period. It's way different than Universal or Orlando. Yeah, I haven't been to Hollywood, but yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking of, like, all of Fantasyland would be closed, and, like, I don't know. It's just weird. It's, like, a weird thought to think of. I don't know. I mean, I guess I can't wrap my brain around it until we actually see what happens. But Karen says, we got the DAS because my husband has epilepsy and can't wait in line. As heat and stress or seizure triggers, a trip would not have been possible without it. Yeah, it's incredibly, incredibly helpful. And Disney is so good about making sure that everyone is comfortable and having a great time, no matter what they might need to have that good time. Twixie Shore says, I was hearing of a rumor where Disney might open 2 parks, one for locals and one for resort guests, and it switches by day. Thoughts on that idea? I think that idea, like, I don't hate the idea, but I think a lot of other people would. I think people get up in arms about virtual queues. So forget it if they switch out parks depending on what kind of visitor you are. Like, how, and yeah, I don't know. I think they have a lot of logistics to figure out. I really do. And I can't imagine that Disney's doing this in a silo. I have a feeling that despite them, Universal being competitors or SeaWorld or whatever, I feel like they're all talking to each other at this point to be like, okay, what are you guys thinking in terms of reopening and how you're going to do that, I think it benefits them to figure that out together. I heard that when they reopen, max number of guests would be about the same as an after-hour party, like Halloween Christmas size for a while at least. Well, Halloween parties and Christmas parties are pretty packed. After hours, like those events are not. But if it was like a Halloween Christmas party, I could see that. I don't like. It's funny because I can't judge how much a crowd is by how it feels. You know what I mean? But so maybe those are. I don't know how many people are usually like. What's the capacity for those tickets? I don't know. Queen says also, Rob might hate this, but another way to do social distancing is maybe to do Fast Pass only so they can control the number of people in line at any one time and to have markers for space in the lines. Yeah, the only way to do the 6 feet apart in a line is to do something like that or virtual queue. Because you can't just have people walk up in a standby line and then have 6 feet apart. And we were talking about this in the Discord, like, how far out would that line be? When do you decide to cut it off? When does it become too much? Like, it's not a bad idea. Universal Orlando has 2 outdoor rides in the studios. Hulk, Doctor Doom, a handful of kiddie rides, and Hagrid's a question mark. Mufasa says, would you sign a waiver to get in the park? So, like, if they were like, you're signing us to not hold us legally responsible if you get coronavirus, I don't know. I mean, realistically, I'm not trying to put myself in a position of or at risk, and so I don't even know how long I might wait. Even after it opens, like, I'm not going to be there day one when things open. So I don't know, but I also live outside of New York City now. I still work in New York City. I will eventually be going back to the office. I will eventually be around millions of people on the subway and whatever. And so sometimes I just weigh that of like, is there any difference? I don't really know. Karen says, I would query whether the waiver would be legally binding. I don't practice in Florida, but generally courts don't like companies trying to exclude liability for death or serious injury. I was gonna say Halloween houses, haunted houses. Don't they do that a lot though? Like, there's some up here that are like pretty intense, and you have to like sign a waiver. I mean, do you think that wouldn't be? I'm curious now, as a lawyer, would that not be like legally binding though? Like, if I got hurt in a haunted house, and then I don't know. Twixie Shore says, I don't think the government would allow such a waiver. That's a good point. Queenie says, oh yeah, you definitely don't want to be there day one. Yeah, I have no desire to be there day one. I don't have a desire to be in my office day one when it opens. Realistically, I want to be like, cool, that's great, guys. I'm going to work from home for like 2 more weeks, see how things go before I decide to hop on New Jersey Transit and the subway to go all the way to Brooklyn to be surrounded by people, to sit in an office surrounded by people. I'll wait a little bit. Karen D says, I agree that courts could frown on that attempt, but also as a matter of proof, it would be difficult to prove causation. I guess we are both lawyers. That's a good point, especially because the symptoms, like, it can be quite a while before you exhibit symptoms. So how would you narrow down that you 100% got it in Disney or not, right? Unless your trip is like a 3-week-long trip, then maybe. But I feel like there'd be no real surefire way to say, I got it in Disney, as opposed to, maybe I got it on the plane ride, or maybe I got it the week before, or the week after. Yeah, I mean, Karen says Florida state law might allow a waiver, but suing in California, where Disney's headquarters is, might still be successful. Those are all really good points. Yeah, I mean, it's been really interesting. Also, Karen, I don't know if I saw the link for the rumor. But if you know what you can do, if you want to drop the link in the general chat of the Discord, I will take a look at it. Also, for those of you who are here who are not part of the Discord, I implore you to join because we have great discussions there all the time. Yeah, it's just been a really great community and getting to know everybody. Hero says, I wonder when Disney reopens, will they allow people to wear face masks? I know they don't allow adults to wear masks. I think they would, but not sure. Well, I think part of the mask thing, it's safety on two parts, right? It's safety on your part to not wear a mask that would be blocking what you can see and getting hurt. It's also safety for someone else. Someone stealing something. Fortunate but true. Some people go to theme parks to try to take kids, and you wouldn't want somebody with a mask doing that, and then you don't know how to ID someone. I know it's a horrible thing to say, but it's true, and it's probably a lot of the things that they think about. I think wearing, they allow it in the Asian parks, right? And I know that's a little bit different, like how they're run. I think we're gonna see it become normal here in America. Like, it's already normal in Asia to wear masks. It has been for years. It's just common courtesy when you're sick or have a cough or whatever that you wear it. And I think we're actually going to start to see that here more often. Like, it's not going to be a weird thing. It's just going to be a normal thing. And I think if that's the case, they might have to lighten up their rules a little bit for that. I think saying, oh, you're wearing a medical mask, that's one thing. You're wearing a mask for like a costume, that's another thing. Let's see. The main purpose of waivers is really just to make you think you can't sue. That's a good point. Out here in Washington, we got a bunch of idiots protesting for haircuts, so this may last longer. Someone tried to do the same here in New Jersey. And guys, we have something like, I've lost track of how many cases we have in New Jersey. I was going to throw a number at you, but I don't actually remember. It's a lot, though. I'm going to look it up really quick. So it really blows my mind. 85,000 confirmed cases here in New Jersey. Over 4,000 people have died. And people are trying to protest here. That's it. That's all I gotta say about that. Let's see. Shanghai was requiring face masks, I heard that as well. I think we will have face masks. We'll be obliged to submit to temperature checks, and we'll see the end of finger scanning at the entrance. I did hear about that, right? Like, you're putting your finger there, and everyone's putting their finger there, and therefore germs. So there's really no reason for them to have to do that. So I think they're going to eliminate that as well. Disneyland does photos, right? Like, so we don't have to do finger scanning. On another note, since the Lego Disney Castle sold out, I've decided to order and build the Lego Steamboat Willy Boat in my spare time. Oh my gosh, I'm looking this up now. And also, Karen, I did see that you sent me that thing. Oh my god, this is so cute. Guys, Lego Steamboat Willy is adorbs. I haven't built a Lego thing in a really long time. I've always wanted like the Lego Star Wars sets. They're so expensive though. Let's see. Hey Jacob, thank you for joining. Hero says, history buff, the wearing of face masks is because of how hard Asia, mostly China, Japan, was hit by the Spanish flu in 1918, and it never went away after that. And there you go. So maybe that is what's going to happen here. You know, it's just swap out Spanish flu for coronavirus. Now it just becomes the norm. Whatever was the point of finger scanning? I know Rob did a whole video on that as well. I know they're not stealing your fingerprints as much as the conspiracy theorists would like to think so. Okay, Karen, I am looking at this post that was posted by apparently a cast member. Let's see. And that is the worst case scenario. Let's see. I'm reading through really quick. Magic Kingdom reopens with limited capacity. No theaters, no parades, no castle shows, no fireworks, and sanitize ride vehicles after every guest exit. I think that's also something that Universal said that they would do, which would obviously slow down boarding if you have to sanitize every ride vehicle, right? Like, how do you do that on Haunted Mansion? That's like an Omni mover. You got to slow that down so somebody has time to do that. I could see no castle shows, no fireworks, no parades. That's where you get your biggest crowds, right? I mean, we're all shoulder to shoulder during those. Magic Kingdom resorts reopen with strict distance guidelines in place. Monorails would not operate. I could see that. Ferries and boat transportation will operate with distancing in place. Yeah, they could do that. They have the space on the boats. Health checks would be introduced at every security checkpoint, include temperature checks and Q&A, including locations you have traveled to in the past 14 days. Yeah, guests will have to sign additional legal forms clearing Disney of liability for potential exposure to COVID-19. So again, back to our lawyer conversation there, and we'll see if that actually will happen. Epcot remain closed if other parks are able to reopen prior to September. Hollywood Studios reopens with limited capacity, no indoor theaters, no parades, no fireworks. Same for Animal Kingdom. The Jungle Trek would remain closed, and no close encounters with any animals at any park, any place in the park will be permitted. Interesting. No character meet and greets. No character dining. What? I mean, I think that would throw off a lot of people if those things were gone. Magic bands mandatory, fingerprints temporarily on hold. If magic bands are mandatory for all guests, then I would imagine they would have to provide them to all guests for free. You can't force people to buy them, right? I mean, maybe you can. Non-MK resorts are unlikely to reopen until phase 2 begins. So all of this stuff is for phase 1. Disney is currently evaluating every single ride and queue to determine how and if it can operate with strict distancing guidelines. I believe that that's true. 100% believe that that's true. Wow, so crazy. Water parks will not reopen. Oh, man. I mean, to me, is it worth going? Right? I feel like then it ends up being more for locals, I guess. Like, to me, it's like I wouldn't want to pay as someone flying from another state to have half a park, fourth of the park, be worried about getting sick. I'd be curious to see who would actually opt to go at that point. Would you guys go? Like, if all of these were no meet and greets, no fireworks, no indoor theaters, most of the resorts closed, water parks closed, like, would you go? I'm curious because I feel like that wouldn't be worth it for me. Finger scanning is supposed to cut down sharing tickets. I still don't trust it. I use my pinky finger for Disney and don't use that finger for murders. Good. Yeah, I mean, pinkies aren't really... You can leave the pinky out when you're murdering someone, right? I don't know. Let's see. I think I watched that video on the finger scan, but I still have no idea what they're for or remember. Let's see. What about Close Encounters of the Third Kind? I don't think those would be allowed either. Yes, the Lego train station looks awesome. I think if I was going to get one of the Disney ones, I would probably get that one. Damien says, I think they'll switch to photo ID at Disneyland in place of the finger scan. I think that they should, and I think that they should just keep that permanent. I don't know why they haven't already. Half the park at full price. James Ryan says they'll make our annual passes active when they reopen under any circumstances. This is a really good point, which is kind of frustrating for me. Because then I do feel like, okay, well, I paid this money for it, and but I don't feel like it's I would argue that my annual pass is not the same value during that time frame, right? So yeah, I don't know. That's a really good point, though. Karen says, I wouldn't go if half the park is closed. Flights are my biggest expense, and it's just not worth the money. Yeah, I mean, you're coming from the UK. That's expensive, for sure. I think, and then the question is, even, like, yeah, who would go even locally that, like, I know Rob and I have talked about this, and he's like, I don't want to expose myself, like, that early on. I need to see, like, how things are and if it's safe and whatever. I feel like you're gonna see record low crowds, and for the people who want to brave it, awesome for them. I guess they'll walk on to whatever rides are actually open, but I mean, I don't know. It's just crazy. This is a crazy thing to think about. Mufasa says no more high fives at Disney. Maybe not. Air high fives, you know? You just gotta from a distance. According to Jim Hill of the Disney Dish podcast, Disney is considering going to facial recognition tech instead of finger ID. Well, that's terrifying. And I say that because facial recognition tech is actually kind of terrifying. Yeah, it's definitely really crazy. I don't know if I'd want that. I feel like people would be more paranoid about that than finger ID. I mean, the lighting kit for the Lego. I need to look up all these Lego sets. Wait. Now, I like how we're talking about the really serious stuff, and then we're also like, Disney Lego sets. Because that's how it goes. I do love the monorail set. I think this is the one. Is this the one that... Isn't there like a monorail set that moves? Is that the one? Or is that different? I like how that comes up. Oh, no, it isn't Lego. It just came up on the side here. Because I love the idea of putting that around like a Christmas tree in the monorail. Yeah, Lego Disney Castle. I've seen that in person at Rob's. It is cool. Oh, the train station is cool. Oh my gosh. I just, like, I can't justify the price for a lot of these things. I just can't do it, guys. Maybe if they had, like, Lego... If they had Lego Notre Dame and then, like, little Quasimodo and Esmeralda and stuff, maybe I would justify it. All right, guys, I need to wrap in a few minutes. I know Peter is cooking dinner, and so it is dinner time over here. So I've got about 5 minutes. I'll have to use a different face for murders. Yes, you will, Andy. Do like a face-off sort of thing, you know, or like a Mission Impossible and just pull it off. Nick Cage did it. Yep, Nick Cage did do it. Let's see. I just want a functioning Lego Space Mountain set. I want a functioning Disneyland Paris Lego Space Mountain set so that I can actually do like a little launch in it. That'd be so cool. Those sets are awesome to display. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of it, right? Like, I feel like those are the sets you want to glue together because you spend so much money on them. So you just want to, like, feel like that's it. Put it together the one time, and that's it. I don't know. I didn't listen to the last TTA because listening to myself is kind of weird. But I don't know if Rob included Pixel destroying his Lego castle. Not destroying it, but she definitely, his cat Pixel tripped over it into his Lego castle, and there was that. So, Queenie says, I want a functional Lego set that doesn't cost me an arm and a leg and still looks cool. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, there's got to be something in the more affordable realm of Legos. They should do Lego sets of the parks. I mean, I just want miniatures of the parks. Like, they have some stuff like that, but I want where, like, I can, like, I think about how I have, you know, the small towns or whatever for my Christmas display. Like, I want to get all the shops from, like, Main Street. I want to get all the little rides. I want to set up a massive Disney World that, like, all comes together. That would be really fun. Cat named Pixel, that is so Rob. You know, this cat looks like a pixel. Seriously. Like, I looked at her and I was like, okay. Yeah, that works perfectly. Someone built a functional Connect Space Mountain from Paris a long time ago. Well, I'm going to have to look that up because that sounds amazing. But yeah, I would love any sort of miniatures, Lego sets or whatever in the parks. There's definitely a market for it. So make those Disney. A Lego set of Disney World, including all the signs of World Drive, Epcot Center Drive, etc. That would be awesome. I mean, there's like Etsy sites that make replicas of the signs. So again, there's a market for it. For sure. Anyway, guys, it was so great to hang out with you. I appreciate you guys all hanging out on a Monday night. I know I normally do weekends, but my weekend got a little nuts. So thank you for hanging out. I hope you all are doing well. I hope you all are feeling healthy. I hope we get some answers about the parks opening soon. But in the meantime, Take care. Have a good night. If you haven't joined the Discord, I implore you, join the Discord. The link is in the description. Come join us and chat over there. We have a lot of fun. Yeah, and that's it. I will see you guys later. Bye.